Alexander III of Macedon, known as Alexander the Great, was born in 356 BCE in Pella, the capital of Macedonia. His father, King Philip II, was a formidable military leader who unified the Greek city-states under Macedonian rule, while his mother, Olympias, instilled in him a belief in divine destiny, claiming descent from Achilles. From an early age, Alexander displayed an insatiable curiosity and fierce ambition. At 13, he became a student of Aristotle, who taught him philosophy, science, medicine, and ethics, shaping his intellect and worldview. Aristotle also sparked Alexander's fascination with Homer's Iliad. The hero Achilles became his lifelong model. By his mid-teens, Alexander was already showing signs of leadership and brilliance, studying not only warfare, but also governance and diplomacy, preparing for a life that would soon eclipse his father's achievements. As a teenager, Alexander began commanding troops under his father's supervision. At just 16, he was left in charge of Macedonia while Philip campaigned abroad, successfully quelling a rebellion and founding a city, Alexandropolis. 2 years later, he fought with distinction at the Battle of Chaeronea, where Philip's army crushed the Greek coalition. Alexander personally led the decisive cavalry charge that broke Theban resistance. Yet tensions between father and son grew as Philip's new marriage threatened Alexander's succession. Their rivalry was cut short in 336 BCE when Philip II was assassinated. At only 20 years old, Alexander ascended the throne. Facing revolts across Greece, he acted swiftly, destroying Thebes as a warning and securing his authority through both fear and admiration. Macedonia was united, and Alexander now commanded one of the finest armies in the world. With Greece pacified, Alexander turned his attention eastward to the vast Persian Empire. In 334 BCE, he crossed the Hellespont into Asia Minor, declaring his intent to avenge earlier Persian invasions of Greece. Leading about 40,000 men, he met King Darius III's forces at the Battle of Granicus and won decisively. The victory opened Asia Minor to his control. Alexander then moved swiftly down the coast, liberating Greek cities under Persian rule and consolidating his base of power. His leadership combined tactical genius with charisma. He fought on the front lines, inspiring fierce loyalty among his men. By 333 BCE, he faced Darius himself at Issus. Outnumbered, Alexander's brilliant use of terrain and shock tactics broke the Persian line, forcing Darius to flee. The conqueror's legend had begun. After his victory at Issus, Alexander marched south through Phoenicia and into Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator from Persian control. In 332 BCE, he founded the city of Alexandria on the Nile Delta, a city that would become one of the great centers of learning and culture in the ancient world. In Egypt, he was declared the son of the god Amun at the Oracle of Siwa, a moment that reinforced his belief in his divine destiny. The encounter profoundly shaped his self-image as both mortal and divine. While in Egypt, Alexander reorganized the government, respected local traditions, and strengthened his empire's spiritual legitimacy. When he left, Egypt was firmly under Macedonian rule, and Alexander's reputation as a godlike ruler had begun to spread across the ancient world. In 331 BCE, Alexander marched north to confront Darius III again in what would become his most famous victory, the Battle of Gaugamela. The Persian army was massive, possibly several times the size of Alexander's forces. Yet through superior tactics and discipline, he shattered the Persian lines with a decisive cavalry charge aimed directly at Darius. Once again, the Persian king fled, and Alexander claimed Babylon, Susa, and eventually Persepolis, the ceremonial capital of Persia. His conquest of the Achaemenid Empire was complete. But rather than destroy what he had conquered, Alexander adopted elements of Persian administration and culture. He kept local officials dressed in Persian robes and began blending Greek and Eastern customs, an early sign of his vision for a unified multicultural empire. His triumph marked the dawn of a new world order under his rule. After defeating Darius, Alexander continued his campaigns eastward into Central Asia, pursuing rebels and former Persian satraps who resisted his rule. His army crossed harsh deserts, high mountains, and unfamiliar territories in modern-day Afghanistan and Uzbekistan. These campaigns were marked by brutal fighting and guerrilla resistance, testing the loyalty and endurance of his troops. Alexander founded new cities, many named Alexandria, spreading Greek language and culture deep into Asia. During this time, he also began integrating Persians into his administration and army, insisting on intermarriage between Greeks and locals, and adopting customs that alarmed some of his Macedonian officers. His ambition was no longer mere conquest. It was transformation, forging a single empire of East and West. Yet the strain on his men was growing, and rebellion within his own ranks would soon erupt. In 327 BCE, Alexander crossed into the Indian subcontinent, seeking to reach the edge of the known world. He faced King Porus at the Battle of the Hydaspes River in 326 BCE. A fierce and costly engagement, fought in heavy rain and difficult terrain. Despite Porus's war elephants and strong resistance, Alexander's tactical brilliance won the day. Impressed by Porus's courage, he restored him as a loyal ruler under Macedonian authority. This campaign expanded Alexander's empire to its greatest extent, stretching from Greece to modern Pakistan. Yet his men, weary after years of marching and fighting, refused to go farther east. At the Hyphasis River, they demanded to return home. For the first time, Alexander was forced to yield. The dream of reaching the ends of the world was over. Alexander's return from India was one of the most grueling marches in history. He divided his forces, one group by sea under Admiral Nearchus, and another, which he led himself, across the Gedrosian Desert in modern-day Iran. The crossing was catastrophic. Lack of water, heat, and exhaustion claimed thousands of lives. Alexander, however, shared in his soldiers' hardships, refusing water when his men had none, earning their lasting respect despite the ordeal. By the time he reached Susa, his empire was exhausted but intact. There, Alexander attempted to unify his vast territories by encouraging mass marriages between Macedonians and Persians, including his own to Roxana and later to Statera, a Persian princess. His vision was of a single blended civilization, but it was a vision his men did not share. In his final year, Alexander faced growing dissent among his officers and soldiers, who resented his adoption of Persian customs and divine honors. He continued planning new campaigns, possibly to Arabia, but his empire was strained by distance and cultural divides. In Babylon, in June 323 BCE, Alexander fell ill after a banquet, likely from fever or infection, though theories of poisoning persist. He died on June 10th or 11th, at just 32 years old. His body was later placed in a golden sarcophagus and taken to Egypt, where it became an object of veneration. At his death, Alexander left no clear heir. His wife Roxana was pregnant, and his generals soon divided the empire among themselves. His conquests had redrawn the map of the ancient world forever. Alexander's empire did not survive him, but his influence reshaped civilization. The territories he conquered became part of the Hellenistic world, where Greek culture, art, and philosophy blended with Persian, Egyptian, and Indian traditions. Cities he founded flourished as centers of learning, trade, and governance. The Library of Alexandria became a beacon of ancient knowledge. His military tactics are still studied today, and his boldness inspired generations of leaders, from Caesar to Napoleon. Though he ruled for barely a decade, Alexander transformed the ancient world more profoundly than any other individual of his age. He remains a paradox, a conqueror who sought unity, a visionary undone by his own ambition, and a symbol of human potential at its most brilliant and most fragile.